Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I'm your host for tonight, Brewer, and I'm joined by Connor for a very special mission.
Yes, hello everyone. As Brewer mentioned, we are deep undercover right now, trying to help our old friend Sly Cooper steal a great treasure.
Yeah, old Sly has been gone for a while, so he needs some help from you guys.
He's one of the best thieves of our time, but nobody really remembers him, and so we've got to remind you guys.
So today, we're going to recount one of his classic tales to remind younger generations of his exploits. And we're going to be covering that in today's episode of Fetch Quest for Sly Cooper and the Thieves Raccoonus, the first entry in the trilogy and eventually the fourth game that a lot of people don't like for the Sly Cooper series, a PlayStation exclusive that we just don't hear a lot from today. What are your thoughts on Sly Cooper, Connor?
So I guess as a whole, I think PlayStation was kind of really built, like a big part of PlayStation was their platformers. I mean, you had Sackboy, you had Jack and Daxter, you had Ratchet and Clank, um, and you
Certainly,
had
yeah.
you had Sly Cooper. Like a lot of like a lot of companies, their foundations were set in these like pretty iconic platforming, legends and stuff like that. And I do believe Sly Cooper as a franchise is definitely in the talks for one of those sort of foundations. And it's just really sad, to at least to me, that this franchise that kind of defined the early eras of PlayStation be sort of just completely abandoned, because the
Yeah,
last game
certainly.
the last game as of now, or as of this recording, was around, I think, 2013, which was
Yeah,
the
for the PS3.
aforementioned yeah, it was the aforementioned Sly 4 Thieves in Time, which was very, very poorly received, to
That
the
and my
point.
knowledge, it kind of ends on like kind of a
Yeah,
cliffhanger, crappy
there
ending.
I think, yeah, I think it's like a secret ending, but it is like a cliffhanger that sort of like ties into a potential fifth game. But
There's nothing worse than a game that purposely ends with like some threads that are kind of loose and like an obvious cliffhanger, and then it just never gets a sequel. There's nothing more
yeah,
painful than that.
yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's kind of, um I'm not gonna say like arrogant, but like definitely sort of is saying like, you have a lot of confidence in this, which if it's a good game, then all for it. But if it's something like Sly 4, kind of feels like you're just not self-aware.
Yeah, but we'll talk about Sly 4 another time. That's a whole other can of worms. For now,
Yeah,
I do want to
we
focus on
yeah,
Sly
we're
1. And for those who aren't super familiar with the Sly Cooper series, Sly Cooper is the latest in a line of great gentleman thieves. He's joined by his two friends, Bentley and Murray, who help him do some great exploits so he could steal from the rich and just all of his other fun goals. And along this journey, he has a lot of interesting abilities, all thanks to the Thieves Raccoonus, which is basically just a big encyclopedia that his family has kept of everyone's unique abilities throughout the generations of the Cooper family. But the Thieves Raccoonus goes missing because some thieves stole it from him. So now he has to go back to steal what's rightfully his with the help of his friends, while also getting hounded down by the police as well because he's a thief.
Yes, and I think it's a very it's a pretty like basic concept, but I think it really does a lot, because there are the Thieves Raccoonus is like, there are obviously some parts of it that are mandatory, but most of the stuff, like Thievius Raccoonus, which gives you like access to these really cool abilities and stuff like that, are optional, which I think is like really cool actually, because you know a lot of these abilities are pretty useful. There's one that makes you go invisible. There's one that can literally slow down time. Um, you can take no fall damage from one of them. Like it really, the reason I really like it is that it incentivizes you to explore and try and find how to access the safes that these pieces are hidden in, and it really it's, at least for me, it really incentivized me to like explore the levels and like really learn how they work so I could find these pieces.
Yeah, certainly, because like overall, the game does feel pretty linear, but even though it's like linear and there's just like only a couple of levels, they leave them open ended enough to where I don't really mind all that much. And especially, they leave you a bunch of different routes for how you want to approach the level, because each of the levels follow a basic format of you go there, you collect a key, you unlock a door, and then usually it leads to a larger area that has a bunch of different locks that you have to get through. And each of them also have pieces of the Thievius Raccoonus in them if you want to get all the optional parts so you can unlock more abilities.
Yeah.
And then
So
there's
like,
usually a boss at the end. When do you do all that?
yeah, so there's like essentially like four big like hub worlds, and you have to access the different levels through them. And some are hit and miss, but there are still some that I really enjoyed. For example, I think all around the world, I think it's called Sunset Snake Eyes. It's like a very casino sort of themed. Um, is I think like that was probably my favorite one. I just think all around it's like really good.
I don't really think there's any bad levels. There's certainly bad parts to a couple of the levels, which we'll get into later, but I do like the aesthetics of each of them. Like Fire in the Sky is like you're exploring a mountain that's like very chilly, but there's also like a lot of lanterns and stuff that are like lighting the way. Vicious Voodoo is a lot of fun just because of its like darker atmosphere in the swamp as well. You have to do a lot of precise platforming to get around. And then Tide of Terror, I think, is a really good introductory level.
Yeah, it helps you get used to all the stuff, or like all the mechanics and uh how that works, and I think it does a really great job of introducing the player to all that stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Because overall, I'd say the game is pretty simple, especially in terms of like what you can do. But the thing that makes it so memorable is how it excels in each of those aspects, especially for how the gameplay really matches the like fun character that Sly is. Because it's not like we're talking about some of the greatest written Shakespeare characters of all time, but they are very enjoyable characters. It's kind of like watching a Saturday morning cartoon in some sense, you know?
yeah, that's the kind of vibe that I was gonna give, is that it feels very like old cartoony style, especially with the art style, like the sort of like comic book esque art style that the characters are animated in. It's very unique, and really helps give the game its own identity.
Oh, certainly, yeah. Especially because I still feel like graphically the game holds up really well compared
Well,
to like
yeah,
other PS3 games that like try to go for a more realistic approach.
yeah. As much as I love Shadow of the Colossus, looking at the old like footage of it before it got like remastered to PS4, like man, that it was pretty rough.
Oh, some of the areas. I will say I do want to give old Shadow of the Colossus some credit though, because they did have a lot of really good lighting effects, especially for
Oh no,
World.
trust me, I still love Shadow of the Colossus. It's one of my favorites. But I've seen part of that footage, and there are just some bits where I'm like, ooh, that's, yeah, you could tell it's a PS3 game.
Yeah, I'd say more so functions as a PS3 game because
Yeah,
Lord, it's a bit rough. Well,
yeah,
well, I guess it
but
is a bit of a weirder comparison though, because Sly Cooper was a PS2 game.
that's true. Well, technically, Shadow of the Colossus I'm pretty sure was supposed to be a PS2 game, but because of you know how it is in terms of like
Actually, wait, no,
it's
I think we're both wrong. I think we both meant to say PS2 this whole time.
I
But
think
they
so.
got
Well,
PS3 remasters, which is what's throwing us off.
okay. I know Sly Cooper came out on PS2, and then I can't remember when, but then it got a PS3 remaster. But I am pretty sure that Shadow of the Colossus was meant to be on PS2, but
No,
then
it
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 got
released on PS2, Connor.
okay. Then I think I'm wrong as well. Never mind.
Yeah, it's easy to get those facts mixed up, especially because like in my case, I did actually play on the PS3 on the copy I own, just because it's the most convenient way for me.
Yeah.
Which I will say, like a bit off topic from like the game's quality itself. I do wish they made these games a bit more accessible, because it's part of the thing that we're like, yeah, you can technically play it, but it's part of the bullshit PlayStation Online subscription, and some of the games are like streamed instead of like actually being properly ported or even just like emulated. So you got to deal with the annoying aspects of like games being streamed, especially input lag and that stuff, which for Sly Cooper can be annoying because it's not the hardest game, but there are a couple points where you do want more precise inputs.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because I feel like even though it's technically a stealth game, it still has a lot of aspects that makes it like kind of more thrilling, fast platformer as well. It has like a nice balance to it. It isn't like nearly as, let's say, stealthy as something like Metal Gear, but it's also not as fast as like a Sonic game or Mario
Yeah.
game.
It sort of really I was gonna say like the gameplay it very much is a representation of like Sly's personality, because he's obviously a thief, so you want to be stealthy, but he's also like witty and kind of likes to steal the show a lot, and so it like that sort of like mix between like having these like stealth sections while also having these like big action sequences. Like one of the ones I remember is I think it's in the second world where you have to like run along this path while you're getting like a rocket launcher shot at you, and the whole like stage is crumbling down and stuff like that. It was like very cool sequence.
Oh yeah, certainly. I remember a lot of the rail grinding from like the third area. That was a lot of fun in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
um
I think on top of that, Sly is just like such a fun character. I'm not like, I don't super love his companions, Bentley and Murray, because I feel like their voices do drag on a little bit in some portions, especially I think Murray, Mr. Tutorial Guy. But Sly's a lot of fun. His voice actor sounds like he's just having a like jovial little time saying all the lines, and he has like a lot of fun banter with all the characters, especially the bosses.
did you mean to say Bentley,
I
by the
think I
way?
mixed up. Yeah, Bentley.
Yeah, because Bentley's the one who gives you all the tutorials. Murray's the
Yeah, well, Murray pissed me off for separate reasons, which we'll
yeah, well, yeah,
discuss.
no, I was gonna say Murray's Mr. Minigame. But yeah, I also like it. Like again, it's not gonna be like again, it was a PS2 game, so it's not gonna have like outstanding, incredible like voice acting and stuff like that. But I think for the time, it's still pretty good, and I do really like Sly's voice. It's like it's both very witty at times, but also like there's a sort of like level of like softness and stuff like that to it as well that really endears you to him. Because I think if he was just like always cracking like jokes and was very witty all the time, he'd get like a lot more annoying than he actually is.
Yeah, certainly, because throughout the levels, he does have a decent amount of lines, but it's not like he's constantly making remarks on like everything that's currently happening in the level.
Yeah, which it's not like a AAA game where you do one thing and it's like someone has to say a word.
Triple A dialogue. Yeah.
I This is gonna be a little sidetracked, but I recently found a video. I can't remember the name, but it was this guy who did the fire temple from Ocarina of Time, but it was like a modern, like, like a modern day game, like right now. Um, and it is torture because I don't think that like 5 seconds goes by without a character saying a word, and it's really funny.
A lot of those edits are like so painful to watch, but you can tell they were just made with like a deep hatred. I've seen one where it's like Dark Souls 3, but it's an anime type
Yes,
game.
yes, dude, I've seen that one too. That one's so
And
funny.
that one's like it's so cringy, but I can tell that it's intentionally created with a passion to piss me the hell off.
I have awakened.
Oh lordy, yeah. Thank the Lord, none of the bosses have ever said that in Sly Cooper.
Yeah, and like I think that's another reason I have a very big soft spot for this game. Because like trust me and Brewer are gonna get into its flaws in a little bit, but it's just like you can tell this game was made in a different era and stuff like that. Where
It's that era with like a lot of other PS2 games and games of that time, to where like big companies, because a lot of the rules weren't really established at the time, they were willing to take more risk. They were willing to try to have products with more unique identities, and they
yeah,
were also going to be trying different ideas and letting their developers do that, which is what I feel like we kind of see with Sly Cooper.
I mean, yeah, like like it's just it's like yes, it's a platformer, but I think there's a lot to it that makes it stand out and pretty unique. But it's like I don't think a game like this would be made. I mean, a game like this hasn't been made yet, and by modern PlayStation. Instead, we have such high hits like Concord, and you know, it's like kind of disappointing to see
And
like it
shutdowns of like 20 different studios.
yeah, and it's like I don't want to glaze Nintendo, but with the release of like Pokemon Pokopia right now, like it really does kind of feel like Nintendo's like the only one that's willing to experiment with its IPs and like, you know, do that sort of stuff, like constantly experimenting.
Well, that or even like bring back older IPs as well, or ones that haven't been
Yeah,
super active in a while. Because we're supposed to be getting a new Rhythm Heaven this year, and that one's been kind of dormant for a while. We're
Tomodachi
getting a
Life.
new Tomodachi. Yeah, I was just about to say Tomodachi Life as
Last
well. And
year they brought
they even listened to a lot of feedback from like a decade ago.
yeah, I mean, and like last or like 2 years ago ish, we got Emio the Smiling Man was like a revival of I can't remember the
The
franchise.
Famicom
Famicom
detective
Detective.
series.
Yeah.
No, I actually
Wh-
I did play that one, and I mentioned in our Game of the Year video. But that was like a really solid visual novel. If any of you guys have the chance to, I would check it out because it's a very solid story.
But yeah, like
I will say, going back onto Sony, I will at least give them credit with Astrobot, but it is kind of funny that like their their newest and hottest thing is literally just harkening back to their old platformers as
yeah,
well.
and again, like I'm gonna keep giving them shit for this because it was I can't if I could find the interview I would like put it on screen. I'll try and look for it. But I distinctly remember there being either an interview or a statement where they were saying like we don't think Astrobot is going to like succeed or it's going to do well. We think Concord is going to be our big seller because it was right before like I think Concord came out or like it was like around that time ish.
Oh
Um
yeah, yeah, certainly.
and it's crazy because Astrobot won the game of the year that year, and Concord shot down in 2 weeks.
Yep. It's still kind of a shame though. I wish Astrobot did a little better in terms of like actual sales, because it didn't do horribly, but it's like, dang. PS5 users really have that like hot dog taco hamburger mentality because they'd be buying the
Yeah,
same types of games every time.
yeah,
Because
no,
Astrobot is like, in my opinion, the reason to have a PS5 if you're looking for a good exclusive. Because a lot of their other exclusives just kind of are just very similar.
and I don't know. It's just like when PlayStation has been built upon such incredible like IPs. and the only one they've really kept around is God of War, because
Which even then, God of War has been changed into a very different direction. Not that I don't
yeah, it's
like the new God
completely,
of War games, but it very much matches us, The Last of Us and all those other over the shoulder cinematic experiences.
yeah, it's definitely been a big change, but it's like, Sackboy is probably never coming back.
Well, I mean,
Rat,
Sackboy in full fairness did get a new platformer around the PS5's launch, along with Ratchet and Clank. Though in Sackboy's case, it's also not exactly his typical games that people love, the Little Big Planets.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, man. I just the biggest reason we want to just talk about Sly Cooper is because we just love a lot of the more unique identity I think PlayStation had from the past.
yeah.
Because
I mean, because
Sly
like,
Cooper is not by any means a perfect game,
no,
but it is a very solid platformer that made itself stand out from the crowd with its identity, some of the witty writing, and how a lot of the platforming abilities and what you're actually doing in the game actually lines
yeah,
up with that.
because it feels like there's just so much soul put into it, and it's like, when I see, like, the fifth game for PlayStation that's super high realistic, incredible, like, realistic graphics, you can see every skin pore on a character's face. It's like, that doesn't really do it as much for me as something like Sly Cooper, which, while does have its flaws, which we're about to get into, still has like a lot more, I guess, like soul and, I guess, care, at least in my opinion, put into it.
Yeah, certainly, certainly.
But
And some of the flaws that we've been mentioning throughout the vid, a lot of them too aren't even from them having terrible ideas. It's more so just a couple of them weren't executed the best. Mostly, a lot of the levels have unique gimmicks to them, like different mini games or different activities you have to do to like get a key. And some of them are fine. Other ones just don't exactly work. Like there's
well, yeah,
one
because
with the
they're
stupid hippo, and it's like a Mario Kart type level,
yes,
and the thing controls horribly. The AI is so much faster than you for like no reason. It's
yeah,
horrible.
yeah, and this is definitely my biggest flaw with the game is Murray's mini games, because there are a few good ones. There's this one where you have to like escort him while you're on a turret, and you have to shoot at the bad guys as they appear. I like those ones. I thought those were pretty fun.
I
Um,
actually feel kind of mixed on those.
well, at least for me, I like them. But there are the the kart racing one is terrible, because the levels, or like, at least the level that I'm thinking of, the map is constantly taking like these huge turns, but your cart turns like complete ass. As Brewer said, the AI is always faster than you, so you have to play like pretty near perfectly in order to not
Lose and
lose.
redo the whole thing again.
Yeah, and it's just like, you make one mistake, you're probably gonna be struggling the entire race because you'll be in the back.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of just synonymous with how a lot of the mini games are. At best, a lot of them I'd say are just like good, but they
yeah,
don't reach
there's
the same enjoyment I have to the actual platforming.
yeah, I much prefer doing the actual platforming levels, because I remember this was in, I believe, the swamp level. Um, and you have to ride on this like jet ski and go around and light a bunch of torches, and that took me like probably 5 tries because of how the controls worked. It was
Oh, I
terrible.
remember that one. I got it like second try, but I was not happy with it.
No, it was not well executed. And
Yeah, yeah. Which again, I think the biggest reason it stands out like a sore thumb so much is just because of how solid a lot of the platforming is.
yeah,
Because a
like
lot of the
the
times you'll get
actual,
these very detailed environments, and if you see like a ledge or something, you can go hop up on there, slide across all sneakily. You can see a
yeah,
bunch of points that you can precisely hop on as well, and they have nice little indicators, so you're never really confused on where to go.
Yeah, like the actual physical platforming is great. Like there's really like no complaint I have for that, because like the level design is great. The like the amount of like problem solving you have to do is really like well executed. Like the overall like basic levels are fine. It's just when they sort of shoehorn in these pretty bad mini games, it it kind of kills the pace for me a bit. Of like, I'm having all this fun, it's like, oh shit, here's a bad mini game.
Yeah, even the bosses are kind of similar in that sense because, like, I'd say a lot of them, like, there aren't really any that are gonna blow you away crazily. Maybe the final boss will, but a lot of them are actually pretty solid and enjoyable. Minus like the one with the gator that has the rhythm mini game, which I wouldn't mind too much, except for the fact if you like miss a single note, you have to like kind of restart it, and it's just annoying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like the PS3 I was playing on or something, but for some reason it was just like not as precise as it should have felt.
So I think that probably might have been something with that, because I played this on PS4, because it's available through PlayStation Plus. But so I played this on PlayStation 4, and I don't remember ever having any problems with like input delay or like detection and stuff like that. So that might have been just like a base PS3 issue, but I don't know. Maybe I just got lucky.
Who knows? There's at least certainly enough random instances of just like something feeling a little clunky in the game to where I'm just like, this is a little off. And I kind of wish the original trilogy got like a remaster, not a full remake. I don't think every game needs a remake. Just a simple remaster would be nice, maybe.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, because again, there is a lot to love with this game. A lot of the bosses are memorable too, especially for like their dialogue as well, and just the fights. I did really like Mugshot as well.
Yeah, I will say this, for the bosses, a good amount of them do at least have a lot of personality to them, which I really enjoyed. Because you've got like Miss Ruby's very uh like she's got a lot of like sort of energy and spunk to her. Mugshots, kind of like your stereotypical gangster character. Like it's great.
Like I don't like with Mugshot how like initially he didn't even really care about the thieves raccoonus too much, but because you hopped into his lair and you blew everything up and like beat up a bunch of his guys, okay, he's like, okay, now he does want smoke.
Yeah, you pissed him off, but
Like final boss, I won't spoil like what they are, who they are, but I just love how their whole thing is they're just a hater. Like that's the whole reason why
sure.
this happened.
I
They're
think I
haters.
think those are my favorite types of like big bads or like main villains, are just the ones that are just pure haters.
Yeah, for no reason.
It's both funny and also like kind of cool, you know.
Certainly, certainly.
But I think we're getting around that time where we should probably start going into our concluding points.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Overall, I'd say Sly Cooper is a platformer that's very worth your time. It's not going to be perfect, and in a couple of spots, I'll even say it's clunky. But the biggest points I can give it is a game that very much knows what its identity is, sticks to it, and it's very unique for that. Because a lot of the characters, some of them drag on a little, but a lot of them are very enjoyable. Again, it's like a Saturday morning cartoon. The platforming feels really solid, especially for its time. A lot of it you can do pretty precise movements, and speedruns of the game are probably pretty satisfying to watch as well. I like a lot of the versatility with the abilities you have and choosing how you want to approach each level. And a lot of the bosses are fun too. It has a couple of little nicks here and there that are just kind of pulling it down. But overall, very solid game. If you have the time and it's available to you, I would very much recommend Sly Cooper and Thieves Raccoonus.
Nah, well said, well said. I guess to go on for my concluding thoughts, I'm kind of like on the same wavelength as Brewer. I think this is a very good game. that just has a few sour spots here and there. Um, but like the overall levels, the sort of like actual fun I had, like it's really good. And I think, and I can't wait to inevitably play the second and third one. Don't know if I'll ever play the fourth, but you know, who knows. But my main thing with Sly Cooper, because we've sung its praises, but I just really want another game in the series, especially since it was left off on a cliffhanger. Because, at least in my opinion, this is probably one of the more unique IPs that PlayStation has in their, in their hands. And as I was talking about earlier in the episode, I just think it's really sad that PlayStation has just sort of ignored and completely forgotten about a lot of its foundational IPs. Um, and so, I highly doubt we'll ever get a fifth Sly Cooper game. Really, the most I could ever hope for is like a remake of one of the, uh, of like the first game, or maybe like a huge remaster trilogy or quadrilogy or something like that. But, you know, here's hoping maybe one day some random person at PlayStation will be like, "Yo, we should make another Sly Cooper game," or something like that. And
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I will say I don't usually like defending Sony. I will say in this case, that it is also a point that the original developers didn't really want to continue developing on it. So there's also reasonings there as well. But it does also
yeah,
make me
because it
kind of
was
question why would the fourth game? Why would you end it on a horrible cliffhanger?
because the fourth game wasn't developed by the original developers. It was developed by the people who did the collection trilogy.
That makes a lot more sense.
Because the original developers, Sucker Punch, had moved on to Infamous at this point when the fourth game came out, and then they later then went on to make. I'm gonna double check this before
Before I fact
I'm
check you
wrong.
again.
Yeah, before I'm wrong.
Actually, Connor, it's a PS2 game.
Yeah, okay. And then those developers went from Infamous to then do Ghost of Tsushima. Um, because
Interesting.
Yeah, so Sucker Punch has definitely been a development group that they've kept around for a while. And so, who knows, maybe one day someone at Sucker Punch will be like, you know what, why don't we just like make a fifth Sly game? Why not?
Yeah, we'll see. Though who knows? Knowing Sony's recent track record, it would be like, they've been pretty successful and they've made a lot of good games for us. You know what we should do? Give them raises? No, we're cutting them off so we can give $1 billion to our CEO.
That's also true. That could happen.
Yeah, but hey, maybe if there's enough fan support, we can get another Sly Cooper game. So, in the comments, if you want another Sly Cooper game, give us our thoughts. Tell us your thoughts on maybe the original games, what you thought of them. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and maybe just give us some feedback on what we can work on. But thank you so much for watching this episode of the Fetch Quest podcast.
Yeah, I agree. If you want it, who knows, if this gets enough likes, maybe we'll cover the second and third games soon. So, please like the video. But with that, we have been Fetch Quest Podcast, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.